one thing, if a little green man pops out of me, I'm shooting first and asking questions later.
You are on the verge of destroying the entire universe.
Welcome to the Strange Podcast with Sam and Logan.
You're listening to the Strange Podcast, Episode 4. Can Dogman play with Ouija boards? And as always, I'm Logan Marks.
And I'm Sam Baxter. Today is October 29th, 2017. If you like what you hear, please go to iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, or wherever you're listening from and give us a good rating and a nice comment. If you don't like us, you can kiss Logan's shiny white ass. If you want to share a story with us or have ideas of future episodes, you're welcome to visit www.thestrangepodcast.com and leave us a message. We look forward to hearing from you.
All right, today we're going to be talking about the Dogman and Ouija boards.
Ouija boards, man, that stuff sounds scary.
Yeah, it's a good time for Ouija boards because it's Halloween coming up.
Oh, that's right. Halloween. That's the best time of the year, isn't it?
Yeah. Did you guys do anything this weekend?
Got some pumpkins, carve them. Hopefully we'll bake those seeds. Everyone likes those seeds, but then when you shit them, they hurt your ass.
You're going to be like shitting really good, yeah. Because it has high fiber.
High fibre.
High fever. You're going to be regular the whole week.
I know.
You'll be like, oh, it's 2 o'clock.
Yeah.
Time to go poop.
I'm going to go hit the head. Time to shit. Yeah, those pumpkin seeds are pretty good, though. I mean, they're not bad. Pumpkins, Halloween. I mean, you think of Mike Myers also when you think of Halloween, good scary movies. I mean,
what? I've never seen Halloween.
Never seen any of them?
None of the Halloweens, I've never seen them.
Oh, man, those are classics. Jamie Lee Curtis. I mean, she was hot back then. I mean, she still looks all right now, but... she was hot back when she was, 19, 20 years old. Running away from Michael Myers.
Yeah, she's even hotter now. She's doing those yogurt ads.
Oh, that's right. She is doing yogurt, huh? I guess she's trying to stay regular too, isn't she? sounds like it's not just us that are trying to stay regular with those seeds, man. That goes eating that yogurt with the...
Halloween's a time to be regular, I guess.
I know. Regularity is important with all that candy we're eating, huh? I mean, the candy's good, but then you got to shit it all out, man. You got to get all out of your system. So,
yeah, we didn't really do much. Well, we went to a party yesterday.
Oh, nice. Did you guys dress up?
My wife did, but I didn't get a chance because I didn't know about the party until like Thursday. Because we weren't really going to do anything, and she's like, "Oh, I got invited to a Halloween party," and I was like, "Oh," and I had to work until like an hour before, so I didn't really have a chance to do anything.
Okay.
So I just put on like my Rick and Morty shirt and put a little sign that said, "I want the Szechuan sauce." I told everybody I was one of those dirtbag Rick and Morty fans.
Yeah. Hey, that was a good episode with that Szechuan sauce that he's been wanting. What was it, like 1984? He wanted it?
Yeah.
And he's still been wanting that damn sauce. Damn you, McDonald's.
Yeah, but that's pretty much all we did.
So it was a pretty good party? I mean, was everyone else dressed up? What did your wife go dressed as?
She went as Louise from...
Thelma and Louise?
Thelma and Louise. I was Thelma.
Yeah. Okay.
No, she went as Louise from Bob's Burgers, and yeah, she looked pretty good. She had little ears and the green dress and stuff.
Oh, nice.
Everybody dressed up. It was pretty cool.
Sounds like...
We didn't stay too long, but...
Oh, why not?
Oh, because I was tired.
Oh, you didn't stay for bobbing for apples?
No.
Does that still happen at Halloween parties?
I've never been to a party where people bob for apples.
So I guess that was only in Charlie Brown, huh? Or all those scary movies you see on TV.
Do you ever remember, like, in high school or like middle school and stuff, they used to have like a fair, like a Halloween fair?
I do remember that. I used to really like that.
Yeah, and you would go and you could like win tickets. It was kind of like a Chuck E. Cheese, but it was like a cheap version of it because you can do all kinds of different games and stuff. But I remember they had bobbing for apples there.
Oh, that's right.
And then they had like a little haunted house. And
they did. I was in the gym. Remember the school gym?
Yeah.
Oh man, those were good times back then.
Yeah, back then when you can go out without your parents and just go and ask for candy and stuff.
Yeah, you'd be gone for like hours. I mean, your parents would be like, "All right, just be back here. I'm gonna pick you up at 9," and they drop you off like at 6, and you were just gone, man. You were gone, whether you stayed there or not.
Toilet paper people's houses and
yeah, it was great, wasn't it? I mean, throwing eggs
and breaking people's pumpkins.
Oh man, those were good times. Now you kids out there, we don't. You stay in school.
Stay in school. Don't do drugs, kids.
Yeah. You don't do this kind of stuff. You stay in school. You'll be better than us.
But you know what I remember us doing when we were kids? Is we'd always play with the Ouija board.
Yeah, that was some fucked up shit, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, like we all have a story where we go to a friend's house and we pull out the Ouija board And there's always a one skeptical friend that's always going off how it's bullshit.
Yeah, you're moving it yourself. I could tell.
Yeah.
I saw it.
And then there's like, you tell somebody, and there's one guy who's like who's never wants to go. Like, as soon as they see the board, they like run out of the house. They get all scared. They don't want to be there.
Yeah. God told me not to do this.
You're bringing the devil in here.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Somehow everybody ends up putting their hand on the
planchette.
The planchette, and they start playing, and then everybody does it, and then everybody has a good story the next day, and they tell all the friends who weren't cool enough to go to your house about all the scary stuff that they saw.
Yep. Yeah, you weren't one of the awesome ones. So what's going on with the Ouija board? What do you remember?
I was the one that was too scared.
So you were the one who ran out. God's gonna get me. God told me not to do that. You were that asshole. I get it.
I was that asshole. But,
okay.
Well, I do have some stories that I got that I have. Like, here's one of the stories that I thought was pretty creepy. Okay, there was this kid. His name was Joe, and he was around 12. He was at his friend's house, and it was Joe, his friend David, and David's older sister Megan, who was 16 at the time. All the parents had been gone. They all went out on some social event and had left Megan in charge to keep an eye on the other two. So they had pizza, regular night,
Yep.
Pop,
hanging out.
Yeah, watch some scary movies and had popcorn. And before they knew it, it was getting really late, and it was time for him to go to bed. So David decides to go and grab the Ouija board, and he pulls it out and he begs Megan, like, "Hey, can we play with it? I promise if you let us play with it for like 15 minutes, we'll go to bed with no trouble. We won't give any hassle." So Megan thinks about it for a little bit, and she decides, "Oh, all right, we'll do this."
Was she like skeptic, or was she like scared of it or something? Like, what made her reconsider?
I guess she didn't really think about it, but she just kind of wanted the kids to go to bed so she can do whatever she wanted.
Yeah, that's a win-win, actually.
Yeah.
Okay.
So she sets it up, and they place the board up, and they begin to start asking it questions. So Joe starts off with the silly questions, because they're kids, or they're only 12. What's my favorite color? It's like, how many fingers do I have behind my back? Asking questions like, do ghosts fart?
Do ghosts fuck?
Ghosts fuck? Yeah, that's how they make baby ghosts. They don't really get any answers. Just get a bunch of gibberish. So Megan wanted to give the boys a little scare. She decides, she's going to mess around a little bit. And she starts getting some more, she wants to ask a little more serious question. So she asks, will one of us die soon? The boys start getting a little nervous.
Yeah.
But the board hasn't been really giving them anything the whole night. So they figure,
Sure.
So they do it. They all put their hands on it, on the planchette, and it slowly moves to yes. And so after that, the boys get a little afraid, and they're blaming each other, like, "Oh, you're moving the pointer. No, you're moving the pointer." Mm-hmm. And so Megan decides, well, let's, we're going to go a little step further and ask it another question. So she asks, well, who's going to kill us?
Kill?
The planchette. Yeah, who's going to kill us? Because they were say who's going to die.
Couldn't it just been like a heart attack on the toilet or something? What's it going to be?
Well, they figured soon. I mean, they're little kids, so I doubt they have like any kind of like major diseases like that yet.
All right.
They were all pretty healthy.
Yeah.
They get the planchette and it begins to direct them. So it goes to the letter M, and then it goes to the letter E.
Oh.
And they look at each other confused. They're like, "Me?" Yeah, Joe's a little scared, but he's still curious. So he asks, "So where are you at?" And they put their hands on the planchette again, and it starts moving to the O, U, T, S, I, D, E, outside.
Oh.
So all of a sudden they hear this tapping on the window. They're all looking at you, all freaked out. They look at the window and the curtains are shut, but they can still hear the banging.
Oh, wow.
They get up and they start creeping towards the window. They're
scared as shit.
Yeah, and it starts getting louder and banging harder. So Megan turns to David and he starts accusing him that he's pranking him. She doesn't believe him. She thinks that he's
fucking around
because he's the one that wanted to play, and he's always doing that kind of stuff.
Sure.
So Megan decides she's going to open the curtains, believing that it'd be, she thought it'd be one of David's friends out there just banging on the window.
Yeah, perfect timing.
And as she reaches the cord to pull it, the boys are like, "Stop, don't do this. We're not pranking her." She's like, "No, I'm going to pull it, So she yanks on the cord, and it flies open. And as soon as it opens up, the tapping just stops, and there's nothing there.
Impressive.
Yeah. So it's clear to them that, the boys are all looking. They're like, "Oh," they all think it's something supernatural. So they freak out, and they put the Ouija board away. They can't sleep, so they all in the living room sleeping. They have the lights on. Until they wait till their parents get home. A week later, David was hit by a car and died.
Ooh.
And Megan was with him when it happened, and she said that when they were walking, something had pushed David off the sidewalk into the road.
Shit.
and that's how it was hit.
Damn. So it wasn't even him being clumsy. I mean, he was some force had pushed him off.
Yeah, she said that there was some force that had pushed you, like, because he was in front.
Gotcha.
Or he was in front of her. Some invisible force just, like, pushed him off into the road, and the car hit him. Joe says that he hasn't seen Megan, like, since the funeral for, like, 10 years. But he heard that, she became like a meth addict, and she just never really mentally recovered.
Shit.
Because she saw it, and she felt, guilty that she was a part of it.
Gotcha.
So I did some research on the Ouija board. Its history, it really isn't that sinister.
Yeah, isn't it like sold as a board game, like for kids and all that stuff?
Yeah, like, well, in 1891, they called it the Ouija, or they used to call it the Wonderful Talking Board.
Oh, wonderful. Nice.
It's fantastic.
No, this is great. Everyone, let's talk to the devil.
And it was advertised in the Pittsburgh Dispatch newspaper by the Danziger and Company. It was basically a novelty toy designed to talk to spirits, and it was like $1.49. So for $1.50, you can go there and get answers, about your past, your present, for the future, using the toy. And
damn, that's cheap price.
Yeah, and they still sell it today. You can go to a toy store,
still buy them.
You can go to Toys R Us and still pick one up for like $20.
Yeah. But couldn't we also say that even if you look back in the 1950s and 40s, remember cigarettes were known to be good for you as well? Remember, it was good for you to smoke, and it was good health, keeps you skinny.
Three out of four doctors
said
that.
Smoke a couple packs a day, it'll help keep you thin.
The guy named Elijah Bond, he was a businessman from Maryland. He had a patent on it, but in order to have a patent, the thing has to be proven to work.
Oh, it's almost like he can just move the planchette himself and dupe whoever he's trying to convince, right?
No, but like he would send the plans to the patent office, and somebody there would test to see if it worked.
Oh shit!
So apparently it worked. So
it actually passed, just like cigarettes kept you skinny. Right? It was an appetizer
cigarettes, yeah.
Yeah, kept you skinny because you don't eat. Okay, so it passed patent.
Yeah.
And then what? So then it was mass production.
Yeah. So they started making to sell. But like again, at the time, at the beginning, the fascination with the Ouija board came from America's obsession with spiritualism in the 19th century. So like in 1848, there's girls they call them the Fox Sisters.
The Fox Sisters.
From upstate New York, and they claimed to be getting messages from supernatural knocks on the wall.
Okay.
They would ask the question to the spirits, and they would say, like, if you die in this house, knock 3 times.
And you get some knocks. Gotcha.
Yeah.
I thought you said wait, are they called the Fox Sisters or the Knox Sisters?
Fox. F-O-X.
Fox. Okay. I was getting confused because I thought you meant like they were foxy and they were hot. But that's what I thought you meant, but okay. I was like, damn, these girls are hot. All right.
Well, they're foxy, I guess.
All right, so okay. Yeah, they're foxy and they like to knock. Okay. Okay, so the Fox Sisters with the knocks. Okay, so allegedly this was happening in their house. Then what?
This was happening in their house, so like a lot of publications picked it up, and it became like a big time story just back then. And after that, like, it just became like the spiritual floodgate, and like all of a sudden all these mystics and spiritual people would come out of the woodwork, and they would start claiming that they had supernatural abilities.
Sure.
And at the time, a lot of the average lifespan was like less than 50, and many people, young family members would die.
Yeah.
And people were just desperate to connect with them.
Understood.
So they would, so talking to them became like a part of American society.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that fad, they needed something to communicate easier. So somebody came up with the Ouija board. They would have the alphabet on there, the numbers 1 through 9.
Sure.
The words yes, no, goodbye, hello. And that's how the Ouija board was born.
Was there ever any lore about why people are afraid that it invites the devil in?
Until 1973, when the movie Exorcist came out.
Oh, that fucked a lot of people up.
Yeah, and that scared the shit out of everyone.
Yeah, I heard people were running from that theater.
Yeah, like they see the head spinning, the pea soup spinning all over the place, and people getting possessed by the devil, and the reason she was possessed was because of the Ouija board, and so that became a thing, So that one movie took that innocent toy that people were using just to communicate with their families and turned it into the gateway to hell.
Oh man!
And the Christian right became basically a mouthpiece to how evil the board was.
Oh.
So, anything they feared or didn't understand became evil in their eyes.
Sure.
Like,
it's the work of the devil.
Yeah. Pat Robertson from like the 700 Club declared the Ouija board like the tool of Satan. That and Harry Potter, because Harry Potter's fucking evil.
Harry Potter? Those kids with magic?
Yeah, they don't like anything, dude. They even like hate Pokemon.
Do they live like in like cabins out in the woods with no electricity and no power?
I don't know. Because they see all this stuff and they just always say.
I'm just saying, I'm just saying. It seems like you can find something wrong with everything.
Yeah, and they do.
Okay, all right.
I once saw Pat Robertson tell people that not to buy used clothes because it might have somebody's evil spirit in it.
Evil spirit?
Yeah.
What the fuck? How about if it was a good spirit? What if I got the spirit of like somebody cool, like like Charlie Chaplin or James Belushi? Somebody that was cool. George Carlin.
Yeah.
Tell some jokes, right? I'd be a rich motherfucker.
I would buy a sweater.
Yeah, why not? So the clothes have the aura in them, huh?
Well, Pat Robertson is. He's kind of. I know he's getting old and he just starts spouting a bunch of crazy stuff now. So like,
unfortunately, he's got a show that a lot of people listen to. That's all I gotta say. Jeez.
So after the Exorcist movie, the Ouija board became like a source of just horror for screenwriters. Used it as inspiration, and like after that, like it was like in most horror movies, it was always a Ouija board that would be in there. So it pretty much changed society's perception of the toy. So scientists believe that the movement of the panther is caused by something that isn't paranormal. It's basically in your mind, so they call it the ideomotor action.
The ideomotor action?
Which was introduced in 1852 by a British psychologist called William Benjamin Carpenter. So how it works is your muscle movements aren't always deliberate. Like you don't always control what your muscles are going to do.
Like muscle spasms type stuff?
More like your muscles kind of read what you're going to do before you do it. So it's like kind of on a subconscious level. Your muscles can have expectations of where you're going to go. Some of the tests that they did was they took a group of people and they had them ask yes or no question, and so they would put their hands on it and they would ask the question and it would go yes or no, whatever answer they thought that was going to give them.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
They removed the people out of the room. They took the Ouija board and just flipped it so that the top was facing north and now it's facing south. And when they brought them back in, they blindfolded them and they have it ask yes or no questions again. And what they did, what the group ended up doing was going to where they thought the yes and no was supposed to be. So basically, it was something that they were doing subconsciously on their own.
It wasn't anything supernatural or...
Yeah, it wasn't really anything supernatural. But it's still I still get freaked out by it.
Yeah, is it taboo for the Ouija board? I mean, do you think it's from like after The Exorcist, it just became like, the religious right or the Christians really made it taboo and made it sound so horrible that it really is? Yeah,
well, you remember like the 70s and 80s, like, Dungeons and Dragons was evil.
Yeah.
They would have all these, or like they would have these like stories about these devil worshipping child molesters, and there was this big old witch hunt to find him, and it turns out like none of this stuff was going on.
Yeah.
So it was just part of that sensationalism at the time, and I think the Ouija board just got thrown into it.
So I wonder what the attraction is. Like, what makes it so good? What makes people freak out?
Well, because you're talking to the dead, or and people say that you're opening
like a portal or something.
Yeah, portals to demons and whatnot.
So I'm not really truly sold on the Ouija board, but can I tell you like an experience that I had one time?
Yeah.
So this was back in the day, and I was with one of my close cousins. His name is Sal Undy, and Sal and I were we were playing with it with a couple guys from school, and we're in the basement of my parents' home, and the basement was pretty dark. It's kind of an extension of the house, and so had its own stairs, own door, own stairs to get down there, and we had the lights off and we had a couple candles on. And I remember one of my friends, Jimmy, he says, ask the Ouija board, hey, so if you're here, can you show us a sign? And the board was in the middle between him and the other guy. Him and Mike were playing, and me and Sal were sitting there watching them. And Jimmy asked the question, if you're here, give us a sign. And the candles were right off to the side of them. And what's weird is when he said that, the candle wicks got really tall.
They like inflamed, like larger?
They got larger, and they lit up the whole room.
Oh, crap.
the room wasn't. The candles were only big enough to light up that corner of the room that we're at, but it lit up the whole room. And Jimmy's like, asked me, he's like, "Hey, is that candle close to me?" Because he could feel the heat starting to almost burn him.
Mm-hmm.
And Sal and I looked at each other, and we were just like, "Holy shit!" And I moved the candle. I'm like, "Yeah, don't worry about it." And I just moved it. They had their eyes closed, so they didn't know as they asked the question. And the candles got really like bright. And Sal and I just don't. Still to this day, we talked about that. It's like, I'm not saying that anything happened, but that was really weird how the candle wicks just got really long and really bright and lit up the whole room.
Like right after they asked the question.
Right when they asked it, yeah, it was like it didn't even make sense. Like, there's no way.
So what did they ask it? Any more questions?
Yeah, they asked some other stuff, and it was just. I would say that nothing really concrete came from that. Even with them, I went with them to a few other places. We went to a cemetery in town, and we went to a road between the couple of towns that the town I grew up in and another sister town. It's about 8 miles away, and I'll save some stories for later about that. But there's a road between the two towns that is completely dark. Quite a bit of people over the years have died back there. It's so dark and so secluded. It's just a two-way road that there's been accidents, drunk drivers. There's been a lot of fatalities. And there's a lot of alleged spirits that are roaming out there. And I would never, even me feeling like a tough guy, would never go out there on my own at night. I never did. I don't think I would to this day either. But we went out there during the evening, during dusk, to do the Ouija board. Me and about a few other guys. We tried it there. We didn't get anything from there. I'm not sure about the Ouija board, how much there is about it.
Yeah, a lot of people are skeptical about it.
Yeah, but I can't explain the candles. The candles thing was trippy. It was really odd. And I'm not saying anything became of this, but like at one point later on, this is like a year later, my bedroom was at the end of the hallway. And remember, I told the story how my parents used to be at the bedrooms used to be at the end of the hallway during your last show. That was my bedroom. This was years later. And I remember I was coming out, and the bathroom was at the very front of the hallway, and the light was on, and nobody else was awake. I was the only one awake, and the light was on. It was casting out the door, like towards the living room, and I was walking towards the bathroom because I was going to go use the bathroom before I went to bed. It was like 1, 2 in the morning, and I remember seeing a shadow, but the shadow was casting as if it was coming from the living room. There was no lights in the living room. So there's no way for a shadow to cast. It was like casting towards the bathroom, like into the bathroom. And it was like I saw that, and I saw it moving. And I was like, I froze, and I was like, is that me? I was like, there's no way it's me. I'm not to the lights yet. I'm still in the dark.
It wasn't your dad taking a dump or anything in there?
No. No. There was nobody in the bathroom.
Oh, okay.
That's what I'm saying. And the light wasn't coming as if it was coming from the bathroom. If it was coming from the bathroom, it would be casting out towards.
Oh, okay. This light was casting towards the bathroom.
Yeah,
okay.
It wasn't casting from the bathroom. It was casting towards the bathroom, and it was moving, and there was no lights back there. There's no lights in the living room, so there was no way that the shadow could be casting that way. And so I saw that, and I froze for a second. And up ahead, we used to have a gun rack. My dad used to have a gun rack there. And for some reason, I thought I was like Rambo or something. And I said, fuck this. And I ran right through it. And I ran towards the gun. And I pulled the gun off the rack. And I turned around. There was nothing there. Again, I'm not saying these things were coincidental. But I do know that it was weird as fuck. And that scared me for a split second. Because there was no way that shadow should have been casting that way. And it should not have been moving. I actually thought there was like a burglar or someone in the house. But again, there's no reason for that shadow to be casting that way. There was no light for it to be coming that could allow it to be happening.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if it has anything to do with that, with the Ouija board. But luckily and thankfully, I never saw that again. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, like,
I'm not trying to fuck with that.
No more crazy shadows.
I don't want that. I don't
Well, I got one more story.
Sure.
And then we'll move on. We'll move on to the Dogman. This is a story that I had heard from somebody that happened back in 2015. It was a group of girls, and they were having a sleepover. Then someone had brought out a Ouija board, and they all decided to play with it. one of the girls that was living in the house thought it would be creepy if they got their sister's doll and set it on the floor next to them while they play. And they want
That would be creepy.
Yeah, and they want to say, oh, maybe it'll become possessed. So they gather around the board and they begin asking the questions. Asking questions about their future. They did it and nothing really made sense. It was just garbled, like more garbled.
Just ambiguous answers.
Just like, yes, Johnny's going to take you to the prom.
Yep.
And until finally one of the girls got brave enough and asked the board if it would make the doll move. So after she asked, they all look at the doll, waiting to see if something's going to happen. Say, wait a little bit. Nothing happens to the doll. So then they go back to asking the Ouija board questions. And then all of a sudden, they can hear a baby crying in the next room. Which kind of freaked them out because there wasn't a baby in the house.
Sure.
They decide to investigate the noise. And they all figure, safety in numbers. So they all decide to get up and they trying to figure out what it is, So they go into the other room. And while they're in there, they can still hear the baby crying sound, but they can't they're searching around the room to try to figure out where it's coming from. And while they're doing that, all of a sudden they hear the bloody murder scream from one of the girls, and they realize that it's back from the original room that they were in. So all of them, they all race into the other room to see. Yeah, they all went back to see why she was screaming, and then they see on the Ouija board that the doll was hovering above it.
Oh shit!
And
is it fucking flying like Superman?
Yeah, just like hovering right above the Ouija board, and they fucking got all freaked out, and all of a sudden the baby crying got like super loud, like unbearably loud. So they said that they all ran out of the house, like uncontrollably frantic, running out, knocking each other down and trying to get out. I guess after that, like they all like got on the cell phone, called their parents, and had them. All of them left. No one wanted to stay in the house anymore after that.
Sure.
And
it's understandable. Flying dolls aren't cool.
Yeah. Why would you want to stay there? And so the girl that actually lived there, a few months later, she stopped going to school, and the family ended up leaving, and they never heard from them again.
Never heard from them again?
Yeah, they just disappeared.
What the fuck? Damn. How long ago was this?
It was in 2015.
Fucking no cell phones, no texting. What the hell?
I guess they didn't have a good data plan.
Shit. I know. They were on fucking. They were connected to Sprint's plan, and they couldn't get shit.
Like only have like 50 megs of.
I know. Download between the family of 20. We all share 1 gig.
We still do dial-up at our house.
Shit. Yeah, my AOL plan will let me do that.
Well plan.
I'm VIP plan on AOL. Damn, so girl disappeared.
You got mail.
Fuck.
Yeah, so they just I guess they just disappeared, took off.
Man, what kind of shit is that? How would you just disappear?
I don't know, but it could have been that they just moved and the girls didn't want
just
to
lost touch.
Yeah, just lost touch or whatever.
Yeah, she slept with my boyfriend. Fuck her. Yeah. She got what she deserved. She got dealt with.
Well, I'm not staying here.
Yeah, no. Wow, man, that's pretty interesting. That's pretty crazy. Yeah. I remember watching a movie back in the day. It was I think they made a Ouija board movie, and I saw it in the late 80s or early 90s. God, that was lame. They always try to, one up, Exorcist, and try to make it, a lot of these movies are pretty lame nowadays. But that's a good time for it, Halloween time, because, there's a lot of good movies.
There's a ton of good.
There's a lot of
scary movies.
There's a lot of good stuff, but one of the ones I really liked, which made me kind of go to this topic, was I don't know if you remember the old movie American Werewolf in London.
Yeah, that's one of I like the one from Paris too.
Yeah, they're both good, but London was the original, and London was pretty freaky. That wolf looked pretty freaky to me.
And like that when they transition.
Yeah,
that one scene where he transitions. Yeah, that's like one of the best werewolf changing.
It was good, man.
Yeah, it was awesome.
It was really good. And it was back, in the early 80s. It was 81, 82, I think. 81, yeah, I was right. So back, that was back in 81. It was good, but I mean, I don't know if you remember the cover of it. Remember the two guys are walking in the dark. One's in a red jacket, one's in that dark.
Yeah.
Remember that? That's always that's synonymous, and they're looking back, and just them walking out in the walking between towns in England. And they get attacked by a werewolf. Remember, they go to that pub, and the people there are just jerks to them because they're Americans. Damn those fucking Yanks. but it's just fucking hating on the Yanks. So they fucking send him out to deal with the werewolves. But then in the end, they end up coming and save the one guy who gets bitten. So, you know, I always thought, to me, there's a few characters like in movies that kind of scared me, you know, as like animals, like dogs, like that character that wolf did. I mean, to me, he looked freaky. And you also remember in the Never-Ending Story. Do you remember that wolf, Gmork?
Oh, that. Are you talking about the flying dog or the?
No, he was the wolf that was supposed to kill Atreyu. Remember, he was chasing him in the swamps, and that big dragon saved him.
Yeah,
the dragon looked scary as fuck. Too.
I know that dragon gave me nightmares.
That dragon looked pretty fucked up, but he started, and he's supposed to be all nice and shit. But God, man, that fucker was scary and annoying, and I don't know which was worse, him or Gmork. But Gmork was the wolf, that black wolf that was sent by the Nothing. Do you remember any of that?
Yeah,
he was trying to kill him, and he ends up fighting him in that little cave. Remember, he's sitting in that cave, and his eyes are all blue.
Yeah, it's all piercing, and he has a big old teeth.
Yeah, that fucking thing looked evil. Well, that goes to my subject of Dogman. Okay, back in 1887 in Wexford County, Michigan, two lumberjacks saw a creature who they described as having a human's body and a dog's head. And they chased it around and cornered it until it let out an unearthly scream and stood upright. And when the guys saw that, they fucking bailed, and they didn't come back. They just left all their shit there.
I'd freak out if I saw a dog like stand up.
Stand up on two legs, yes. And then a lot.
Or if he started playing poker, that'd be really creepy.
Yeah. Starts taking my money. I'm fucking out. I'm fucking out. I'm scared.
It's like aren't you the dog from the poker playing picture?
Yeah. Yeah. So, usually the type of the way it looks. It's been described as like having colored eyes, like blue or amber, and the torso is of a man, and it has a horrendous scream, and it sounds like a human, like blood curdling scream. Its shoulders are like huge, like massive. Its head is massive, like 2 times that of a dog, and it looks like a German Shepherd with a long snout.
So is it the size like of a regular man or like bigger?
Well, the man, it's like 7 to 8 feet tall.
Okay.
And it's got the head that's huge. It looks like a German Shepherd head with a super long snout.
Okay.
And the shoulders are huge, and it just looks like it looks like the body. It can get down on all fours and run, or it can stand on 2 legs and chase you. It can do either or, whatever the fuck it wants. So, allegedly this appears every 10 years, and on a cycle of a year ending in 7.
In 7?
So. In 7, so like the first one I just said was 1887. So this phenomenon, these stories gained popularity when a disc jockey named Steve Cook recorded a song about the creature and its reported sightings. He did that, and a lot of people started coming out, like he did it as a joke, but a lot of people started coming out saying, "No, this shit's real," and let me tell you why. So all these accounts started getting logged of things that were happening.
Oh, it's kind of like War of the Worlds. You remember when you started telling the story, and then the aliens were attacking, and then pretty soon people were calling in. Yeah,
exactly. Well, but I mean, that was because that was all fake, though, right? This is allegedly real.
Oh, okay.
I mean, that was a radio broadcast that was. They said at the beginning, "Hey, this is just a show," and a lot of people didn't catch it. They turned on the radio when it was already on. They're like, "Oh my God, we're being attacked." This was one where he was making fun of that, and people were calling in like, "No, this is not fake."
Oh, they're like trying to prove him wrong?
Yeah, well, they weren't trying to prove him, but they were sharing their stories with him, telling him, like, no, this is what happened. These are things that have happened. So after 1887 and in 1907, they found a farmer. His body was found on his plow, and it looked like he had died from a heart attack. He was just hunched over, dead. And they found a lot of big, like, large dog tracks all around his plow, but they never found anything. So in 1938... there was a 17-year-old named Robert Fortney. He was fishing on the banks of the Muskegon River near Paris, Michigan, and a pack of wild dogs, like feral dogs, came out of the woods, and he like saw them, and he kind of hunkered down, like, oh shit, I don't want to fuck with these. And he had been hunting game earlier, so he had his rifle loaded, and the dogs, they caught wind of him, and they came at him, and they acted like a pack. And they like surrounded him. He's like, oh fuck. So he shot he didn't want to kill them, so he shot up in the air like a warning shot, like shot like right over their heads. And 4 of the dogs bailed, but one of them stayed there. So the one that stayed there was a black dog and had unusual eyes. And he had quoted as saying they were blue, And he was thinking, and he also was quoted saying like, what kind of dog has blue eyes? I mean, this was in the daytime. There was no light reflecting off of it, so it just had blue eyes on its own. So they both like stared at each other for a while, and there was like only like 10 feet separating them. And Forney's like, fuck, this dog's like sizing him up.
Yeah, he's mad dogging him.
Yeah. And so he shot another shot in the air over the dog. And what freaked him out was the dog stood up on his 2 legs and it glared at him. It glared at him like giving him an evil look. And he says that he swears that the dog was like smiling at him, like smirking at him. And then finally just turned around and ran back into the forest on 2 legs.
Did he chase after it?
No, fuck no. He wasn't going to chase after that. I mean, he's one man with a gun, and there was like a pack of dogs out there.
Oh, I thought there was just the one because the other ones took off.
Well, they took off, but they could still, come back. I mean, they were a pack. Right?
Yeah, you want to probably be out there alone.
No.
Probably send a trap for him.
Exactly. But before that, in 1907, as they come in years of 10, after the man on the plow in 1907, the sheriff found a wagon with dog prints all around it. The driver was never found, and the horses were found dead. They were nearby, and their eyes were open as if they were in shock. But they never found out like what had killed the horses. They weren't beaten, they weren't bitten or anything. They were just dead. And so they think like they had died of fright.
That the horses had died of fright?
Yeah, like they were freaked out and they died of fright. Because their eyes were just open, just wide open.
Yeah, they had like a heart attack.
Yeah, exactly. And I guess like some guys who were in 1937, some sailors saw a pack of wild dogs, like as they were sailing by in their boat, and they shot one. And the next year they shot another one of these dogs, but this time when they shot at it, it got up on its hind legs and locked eyes with them, and it like snarled at them, like smiled and took off running on its 2 legs. And 20 years later, in 1957, like a preacher found some claw marks, like 7 feet above the ground of his church wall, like his door, like on the door, or I'm sorry, on the wall, and on the wall there was all kinds of claw marks that were like too high to be like any human. And like in 1967, some hippies, of course, the damn hippies, they were asleep in their van. And the dogman, they woke up and the dogman was like attacking the van, like it was trying to break open, and they had to they turn on the van and bailed. And in like 1977, 10 years later, a couple of fishermen saw like a dog-like animal. It was like swimming towards them. It had like the head of a dog, but it was swimming like a man, and it was coming at them. It was during dusk, and they were like, "What the fuck?" And so as it got closer, they started beating at it with the oars. They had the higher ground, and it couldn't get in.
Oh,
so
damn!
It just took off.
They beat it off then, huh?
Yeah, they beat it off. Well, it's in the water. It can't really do anything, But yeah, they beat it off. Beat it off. They beat off the dog man. He felt good. So that leads up to 1987 when that disc jockey Steve Cook in Traverse City, Michigan, he recorded a song titled "The Legend," which he initially played as an April Fool's Day joke, and it was just based on actual reports of the creature. But like I said, there's been a lot of people that have been reporting about the creature.
So has there been any like people claiming that they were like somebody was killed by them or was like maimed by them and they came into like the hospital or anything?
Well, okay, let me get to that. But there's only been like 11 states, because you can find this information online, and there's been like only like 11 states so far that haven't reported any dogman incidences. It's not just Michigan. There's a few other, there's lots of other places around the country, and even around the world, there's a few other countries that have reported attacks or just being, freaked out by this. So, I got a story to tell that a friend, a guy that I work with, he's from New Jersey, and his name's Mike, and he was with his girl Jessie, and they went out to the kind of like the Pine Barrens. And they went camping, and he had a Smith & Wesson Model 10 revolver. That's what he always carried with him.
He was a cowboy.
Yeah. But that was the weapon he had, and so as he went out, him and his woman, they went camping. They got their gear, and the truck that he left was about a mile away from where they went camping. So they got to their spot. It was starting to get a little bit, starting to get dusk. He's like, yeah, let me make some dinner. Made a fire, made some dinner, starting to cook some beans up, and his girl and Jesse was starting to get the plates out, get ready, and all of a sudden, he kind of felt like, you get the eerie feeling of being watched. So he kind of looked around, nothing. He couldn't shake the feeling, he was just cooking the beans and stuff, making sure they didn't burn on the fire. And again, he felt it, and all of a sudden he started smelling like a rancid, like putrid smell.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, he's kind of looking at his woman like, "Hey, did you fart it?"
You farted?
Yeah. And she's like, "No." And he's like, "Oh, what's that smell?" She's like, "I thought it was you." Like, no. And so they were like, like that's weird. It started. It was like just a strong smell. And so they were just kept cooking, and she was getting all the stuff out still, getting put on another jacket. She was cold, and he heard like a twig snap. So he turned around. And he could see, like, in the out in the forest, it was getting dark, but he couldn't see anything really. He was like, "What the fuck?" He's like I feel like there's something out there, like something's looking. So he asked his woman for the flashlight. They had some flashlight, so he popped it out there. Mm-hmm. And as he did, he could see like there was like bushes, and he could see two eyes, like at the like crouched down, like almost to the ground, but they were like yellowish eyes.
Mm.
And he was like
something was stalking him.
Yeah, and he was like, "What the fuck is that?" He's like, "Is there like a mountain? Is there animals like mountain lions or something out here?" He's like, but he just was thinking like the eyes look weird. These don't look like any type of cats. And he's like, "What the hell can this be?" And he just kind of like, "Hey, get out of here!" Yelled at it. The thing just stayed there looking at him. He just and it was kind of like moving back and forth, like kind of going side to side. Looking at him, the head was moving side to side, but he couldn't see really anything because it was so dark. Just his light was hitting it, and it was in the bushes, so he couldn't really see it. So he kind of yelled at it again. Nothing. So he's like, "What the fuck is out there?" So he takes his pistol out, and as soon as he does it, he pulls his pistol out. It's as if it realized it was a gun, and it stood up. It came up, but when it came up, he was 6'6", and this thing towered over him.
Holy crap!
Yeah, he said it was at least about 7'5", 8 foot, and it's
Andre the Giant.
Yeah, exactly. And he was like, "What the fuck?" And he's telling Jess, you see this? And she's like, "Yeah." He was like kind of transfixed on it. He couldn't like move, and he kind of heard her whimper, and it kind of broke his lock, and he fired a shot up in the air, and the thing, it had been moving towards them, I should say. It was starting to come closer to him, and he fired a shot up in the air, and it stopped. And so all of a sudden, he's like, "What the fuck?" And then it started walking again, and it came into the light of the fire. And he said this thing was like a dog, like a German Shepherd. Its teeth were like, it had too many teeth for its mouth, and it was like snarling, and it was like almost like salivating, like dinner. And it wasn't looking at him; it was looking at his woman. And he was like he couldn't think. He couldn't, like, what the fuck is this thing? And she kind of like made another like noise again, and he shot again, and this time he shot at it, and he thinks he hit it. He's pretty sure he hit it, and the thing looked at him, and it looked really pissed off.
So it didn't even phase it.
It didn't phase it. Didn't drop it, and it looked at him like really mad, and he thought it looked like he was gonna jump at him, and so he took another 2 more shots, and the thing turned around and just barreled out. And they said, "Fuck this." And they grabbed their shit, and they said they were contemplating, like, we can't stay out here, but we got a mile back in the darkness to the truck.
Oh crap! So they would have to hike back.
Yeah. So they were freaked out. So what they did was they just grabbed some clothes, and they made like torches with clothes, like to burn on the wood, so it would just burn longer. And they ran back. They just left all their shit there. They said,
"No." They said, "I wouldn't even made the torches. I just said ran for the truck."
Well, the truck's a mile away. I mean, what are the chances you think you're gonna get back? So they actually opened up all the food, and they scattered it all over. Like, maybe this thing will eat this, right?
Yeah.
And they scattered it all over, and they just took off running with the torches. And they said they got about 3/4 of a mile before they heard it. as they were running, and all of a sudden they could hear the dum 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 dum.
Like he was chasing them?
Yeah, and he had looked back, and he flashed his light, and he could see it on the tree line on the path coming at them. And he was like, "Fuck!" And he didn't want to cause a forest fire, right? I mean, that's the only reason why initially he didn't throw like a torch out at the bushes where it was at, 'cause, he didn't want to cause a forest fire. So he took a few shots back, and every time he took a shot, it would stop. And finally, they got to the truck. They made it there. They were just dead. They jumped right in, and they peeled out. And when they did, as they were leaving, like at the entrance of the gate, it was standing right there, looking at them, like.
Also, it was like ahead of him then.
Yeah, I got ahead of him.
Or maybe there was two.
It could have been.
Like when it was like he was like leading them to the other one.
Yeah. And it was there like smirking at them, and he took one more shot because he looked like it was gonna lunge at his truck. He felt like that thing, how big it was and how strong it was, it could have probably destroyed his truck. So as they were going by, he took one more shot and it, cringed back, and he just peeled out, and they just didn't go back. They're like, they left all their stuff. They never went back for anything.
So they seem to have like human intelligence. Do you think like they're werewolves, or they're just like like that's like a species of that?
It could be that they have their own intelligence. I mean, they have the body. I mean, why else could they walk up, bipedals, and not just be on fours? Like, they can hunt like an animal, but they can walk and think like a man. I mean,
do they think that they're like human that turn into wolves?
Like a werewolf?
Yeah, like a werewolf, or is it just like that's a species that they are, just like intelligent wolves?
They don't know. They don't know because a lot of times these things were like they've hunted animals, they've hunted and killed things. There was like one instance where a farmer had said that he saw one like hanging around his barn. He could see it, and it was like he could see it like hunting something. It was like stalking something, but he couldn't see what it was, and he was too scared to go out there. he saw it. He saw the motherfucker. He said it was too big, and he's like, "Fuck that."
It's like, I don't want to know that noise.
Yeah. I mean, he might have had like a rifle, but he's like, "I'm not going out there. Like, I don't want it to know that I'm watching it." That's the whole thing. There was also another story where a woman said she was lived up in the Upper Peninsula in Michigan, the UP. And she had came home late one night, and she fell asleep. She had her lights on. She had made some dinner, and she ate. She passed out on her couch, and where she lived was out in the woods, and she lived like on the lake. She had a little path from her house that went to the lake. So, she could usually, like, with the lights off, you can see the lake, from the window. It looks nice, all that cool stuff. And so, as she fell asleep, she woke up and she could hear like from a loud, high-pitched scream. And she was like, "What the fuck was that?" And she was like, "Was I dreaming?" How you might wake up from a dream, like, what? Like, was that a dream or was that real? So she kind of just laid there with her eyes open, just frantic. And all of a sudden, she could hear like some growling, like a low feral growl. And she's like, "Okay, I'm not dreaming." And she was like freaked out, listening on the couch, and she could hear growling coming up the path. And she couldn't see out because her lights were on. And so as she was laying there, the growling got closer and closer, and finally it got to her house. And as it was walking by her house, she could hear like scratching on her walls. And it got to the front door, and it started like banging, bang bang.
Oh shit!
And she was like freaking out, like, "I don't have any weapons. I don't have anything. I'm out in the boonies." This is, like I said, this was a long time ago, so there's no cell phones. And it just kept banging, and she said she freaked out, and she decided to just pray to God. She's like, "I'm just gonna pray and hope that this thing goes away." And she started praying and hoping that it would just finally go away. And after a while, after what seemed like hours, it finally just kind of walked off, and she could see the back of it, walking out back towards the water. And she could see it was a tall creature-esque. She couldn't see like its head or anything, but it wasn't
Jehovah's Witnesses just knocking on the door.
Yeah, I know. Jehovah's Witnesses coming at 11 p.m. Hey, come learn about God.
Can we give you some pamphlets?
Yeah, I know. Come join the Watchtower. Yeah, so she said it just took off back, and she said that it scared the shit out of her. Made her buy a gun. She ended up moving out soon after, actually, because she couldn't handle it.
Oh man, yeah, I wouldn't be able to stay there after that.
No. But one more story that I had that I did read online was a couple guys saying, and there were a couple, and they went out and they'd parked their truck and they decided to camp out, and so they made their camp, and basically all of a sudden as they were setting up their camp and everything, the only weapon they had was bear mace, and bear mace is strong, right? Because it has to deter the bears. So so the first guy had the bear mace on him. The second guy was pitching the tent and everything. And so all of a sudden out the woods came this big monstrosity of a creature, which was they say basically is a Dogman, wolf-like, big head, blue eyes, huge, like 8 feet. And it came out and it looked at them. It looked at man number 2, who was closer to him, and looked at man number 1, looked at both of them. And man number 2's like, oh my god, like, what is this thing? And they were both like freaked out, and he turned around to run. As soon as he did that, he felt like something hit him, and he fell. It's like he went flying in the air, and he was on his back. And next thing he knew, he looks up, and the thing's standing on him with his paw, like his foot's on his chest, like mine. And man, the first guy who had the bear mace, he started spraying at it. And he hit it in the eyes, and it got like really mad, and it hurt it, and so it was like in the ground, like it was rubbing its face into the dirt, trying to clear off the mace. And the first guy was setting the guy number 2 was still on the ground, and he was.
It seems like the mace is like did a better job than the guns.
yeah, because the mace, because the guns didn't seem to do anything, but the mace, and as it finally was kind of starting to clear up, he sprayed it again in the eyes. He hit it again. It got really mad, and so finally the guy was able to get up. But the creature was swinging wildly, like it can't see, so it's all just swinging, trying to hit anything.
Yeah.
And they both got hit by it. The guy who was on the ground, he, clipped his leg, hit the guy with the mace, kind of hit him a little bit, and he sprayed it again one more time. And the thing finally just got up, just fled, like it ran back into the bushes. And they got their stuff and they ran back to the truck, and as they, their automobile, and as they did, it was there at the gate, like waiting for them, but it didn't do anything. It was just standing there watching them.
Man, that thing's fast.
It is very fast.
It seems like to get ahead of everybody.
It is. It's almost like supernaturally fast, like.
Or twin brother.
Yeah,
twin brother.
I mean, there was stories I read where it would chase cars, and cars were going like 75, and it was on them.
Oh, and
it was keeping up with them.
Did it ever like grab a tire?
There was one time where it was tried to jump in the back of a truck, but it wasn't able to, because like the guy would like brake check it, hit it, and then he'd take off again. Like almost like the Dogman knew that it was a losing effort.
Yeah.
But yeah, this thing seems like overly big and overly stronger than anything that anyone else has seen or what they know. And again, it usually comes at the year with a 7 at it, and they don't know the significance.
I wonder what the connection is with the 7.
I don't know. Could it be some mad scientist who, some Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde guy who fucked himself up, and he made it like, oh, 7's a lucky number, let's just do this and make myself strong like the Incredible Hulk every 7 years, but instead he turned himself into a fucking werewolf.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. I'm just saying, like, could it be some mad scientist?
That's your main theory?
Yeah, I don't know. I honestly don't know what this thing is or what it could be. It just doesn't make any sense. Like its strength, its powers. I mean, it works with other dogs. Like runs with them in a pack, and it runs on 2 legs.
So there's more than one though, right? There's got to be a bunch of them.
There has to be more around. There's no. I mean, how can it be in so many different places? Unless it travels every month to a new location. By the time it's 7 years, it's back in its first one.
Oh, maybe that could be
right. It could be back in Michigan on the 7th.
It's just like the older humans. They're pretty mobile. I mean, they would go from location to location. So maybe that's what they're doing.
It could be, yeah. Like maybe they're moving to hunt, to eat.
Yeah, wherever they can get meals at.
Exactly. Maybe it has to like leave a location and be on its way and attack wherever it can, and eat wherever it can, and shit and fuck wherever it can.
Yeah.
It could be all of that. But the thing is, it's unknown, and it's in Michigan, at least for the most part, was where most of the sightings have happened, and a lot of people are pretty scared there.
I would be too if I saw one of those things.
Yeah, and there's there's a lot, you can find a lot of like fake videos out there, and allegedly they caught it on tape and stuff. But
kind of like Sasquatch, or
exactly, right?
It's all blurry and
yeah, or it looks all CGI, right?
Yeah,
looks like somebody made it in the basement. Hey, here we go, Dogman. Yeah. Dogman has wings, right? And it's like, no, you're making the wrong creature. But it does sound like if something feral, like I said, the reason why it freaks me out more is because I think more of like American Werewolf in London, or Gomorrah from the Neverending Story. Those wolves, they look pretty damn evil. So I always think of this thing, if it's like that tall and that strong, I mean, fuck.
Well, it kind of makes it scarier because if you go out in the woods and you're just camping or whatever, like even if you just see like a wolf or like a bear or something, I mean that's pretty scary
enough.
Alone. Yeah. But then when it like gets up and starts talking or something,
yeah, starts
making like
smirking at you like, oh, you're lucky you got that gun, asshole. It's looking
get
at
off my
you.
Property.
Well, it's looking at you like when you fire the gun to warn it off. It's like looking at you like, all right, you win this round.
Yeah. Well, especially when it smiles at you. It looks like it's grinning at you. That's creepy.
Yeah. Oh fuck, man. That's what I'm saying. It's like smirking at you like, yeah, you win this. Because you have that weapon, you will not die today. Basically, that's basically like the smirk it's giving you.
Let's see how tough you are without that gun, buddy.
Exactly. Yeah. See how tough you are when you're only like 5'2", and I'm 7.
Man.
I'm 8 foot. Come on, let's go hand in hand. It's like, shit.
Think you're some man with that gun?
Yeah, no, come on, let's make it fair. My muscles against yours. Yeah, it's like, man, as all that stuff seems like just too freaky, man. I don't know. Like I said, do you have any thoughts of what something like that could be?
Like the only thing I could think of is like maybe an actual wolf. Or like, just like a bigger wolf, because I don't know, and maybe it would be able to get on its hind legs. Cause dogs can do like tricks like that.
Sure.
Where they get on there and they kind of hop around. Maybe they just do that, and or maybe it's actually just a bear.
But why would it be so buffed? Why would it like have the body of a human?
I don't know. Maybe it's like a really in shape bear.
Yeah, no. We're gonna doing laps for years.
He's tired of being fat.
I know. He's like, I'm just gonna eat fish. No more meat. I'm a vegetarian.
I'm gonna do some Jenny Craig, and I'm gonna go out and
I'm gonna break into a Jenny Craig and eat all that food for years. I know. I know. Yeah, it could be some badass bear who. Or what if it's like you said, a wolf that learned to evolve? Evolve into something.
That's another
bigger
thing I thought. Yeah, maybe it's like a different species of.
It could just be a regular species that just evolved, right? It's on another level than everything else.
Or some hairy dude, maybe, I don't know.
But 8 feet tall, man, hairy dude.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you could be on stilts.
On stilts. It's like a Scooby-Doo episode.
I know, yeah.
And I would have got away with it.
You mangy kids.
Got away with it if it wasn't for you regular kid and that dog.
Yeah, I know. That dog that can talk.
And you're talking dog, man.
I know. I'm gonna be like him. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. It's weird, like I said, and every 7 years, who knows how many people it has attacked and killed and eaten, right? I mean, obviously they're not gonna be around to talk about it.
It'd be interesting if there's like some like medical records where someone like had like these huge dog bites on them, or just like they claim that they were bit by a wolf or some giant wolf man, and you see like the bite marks on them, or some like pictures or something like that. That'd be kind of interesting to see.
Well, those last two guys I was telling you about, like they were so afraid to tell like any police or any personnel about it because it sounded so hokey.
Yeah, it does sound kind of crazy.
So they had to go to the hospital because they had sustained damages, and as they went, they told everyone, yeah, it was a bear that attacked us, and
yeah, and start talking about Wolfman, they'll probably put you in the
right. They're gonna put you in the loony bin, right? and so I guess the hospital, the doctor ended up calling the cop, like, hey, this happened. You know, you might need to go check this out. Which a cop called the game warden.
Oh
and
yeah.
so the warden came out and was like suspect of them. Like, hey, like, what did you really see? And they're like, what do you mean? They're like, no, that's no bear. Like, what did you really see? Like, no, you know, they didn't want to say, right? And he's like, yeah. Like he knew something was up, and he was asking them to divulge, and they're like, no, it was a bear. He's like, all right, you know, like basically liars, you know. And so as they like went home, or when they went out to their truck later, as they got checked out, like somebody had ransacked it. Somebody had went through all their stuff, and was like looking for some stuff or looking for something, but their truck was all like disheveled and all the papers and everything in there somebody had went through it. But they didn't want to waver on their story. They didn't want to tell anybody it was some type of wolf. They stuck with the story of it being a bear, and even their names on the storyboard they kept it as anonymous. You know, they just used, you know, fake names, which is why I didn't give any name. But
well, those are some pretty good stories, but we're coming towards the end.
oh no.
Yeah, no. So we better wrap it up.
So again, for all you listeners out there, if you want to hear us, you can go to iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, or wherever type of service you use. Give us a shout out. You know, we'd like to hear how we're doing, if we're fucking up, if we're doing all right. Give us some love, give us some hate, anything. We're here for that. So go to www.thestrangepodcast.com and leave us a message. We'd love to hear from you, and if anybody has any stories that they would like to tell us, or any ideas for any stories that they would like to hear, we'd be glad to hear it.
Yeah, so have a good night, good evening, or good morning, wherever you are, and we'll see you next week. And until then, stay strange.